Welcome neighbor, I'm Glenda and this is the Mr. Rogers Project. I'm rewatching old episodes of Mr. Rogers and reflecting on them through my adult eyes. Join me in this project. Please like and subscribe so you'll be notified when new episodes are published, and please share these episodes with your neighbors. At the end of each episode, I pose related questions. Feel free to reflect and answer those questions in the comments. You can also head over to the blog to leave comments and answer those questions. Link in the description. Last, check out the community tab for this YouTube channel. This is season 1, episode 9. You can stream on Amazon Prime. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, volume 1, number 1179. Wishes don't make things come true. The air date is February 28, 1968. The episode begins when Mr. Rogers tells us Chef Brockett has invited him over as a chef will have a visiting cake decorator. Mr. Rogers clarifies what a cake decorator does by asking us if we have seen a fancy cake with lots of different frostings on them. He then goes on to show us tools for decorating cakes at home. Mr. Rogers says, we'll get to see a real artist use the tools later when we visit Chef. Through Picture, we see tips and tools used for cake decorating at home, as well as various designs, and we can see various types of cakes for different celebrations. As he's feeding the fish, Mr. Rogers says that the people who decorated the cakes we saw in Picture would really have to know their trade. He begins to sing a song about knowing your trade. The lyrics to this song are as follows. You have to learn your trade. Everything takes practice. If you want to make the grade, you have to practice. Yes, you have to learn your job, not simply turn a knob. You have to practice. You never learn to feel by wearing gloves. You never learn to smile with just a frown. You never learn to talk by shutting up or walk by sitting down. You have to learn your trade. Everything takes practice. When you see what you have made, you'll shout, look here, the fact is. With a fair amount of practice, you can really positively learn your trade. You have to learn your trade. At the conclusion of the song, Mr. Rogers comments, you don't learn it just by magic. Practice is one of the overall themes for today's episode. Mr. Rogers teaches us that it takes practice to develop any skill, and there is just no way around that fact. The people we see who are very good at something have not magically become good at what they do. No one is born naturally with a skill. Skills are developed through your environment and with a lot of practice. The phone rings. It's Chef Brockett asking Mr. Rogers to come over as the cake decorating artist has arrived. When he arrives at the bakery, Mr. Rogers models how to interact with people in public by greeting Ruth. He shows that we acknowledge others, say their names, and sometimes shake hands. Mr. Rogers learns about challah bread, an egg bread, and we have a mini language lesson. We learn that egg bread is pan de huevo in Spanish. Mr. Smith, a professional cake decorator, shows us how he decorates a cake from the beginning steps. Mr. Smith tells us that it takes hours for him to decorate a single wedding cake. I appreciate how Mr. Rogers is acknowledging that even for a professional, it still takes hours to complete the work. And that's after thousands of hours of practice, plus previous years of experience. I think too often it's only the finished product or final result of things that are shown in today's media. Young people are struggling to understand that things are not created instantly and perfectly. Rather, most things take time and there's a process involved. Not making the process public leads people to believe that they are simply not good at something if they are unable to execute it correctly the first time. I believe this is in part what causes children to feel apathy, to quit, and to experience poor mental health. I appreciate how much time Fred dedicates on his show in examining the learning process so that children can come to understand that they are not an inherently flawed individual. Children can understand that they too can develop skill with practice and support. Mr. Rogers helps his young viewers know that during the learning process, it's normal to make mistakes and to feel frustrated. Mr. Rogers asks Mr. Smith if he has studied cake decorating for a long time. Mr. Smith replies, "The more you use your tube, the more you learn." Multiple comments are made by Mr. Smith, Chef Brockett, and Mr. Rogers that it takes a lot of practice to do something well. At the start of the decorating segment, I observed that Mr. Smith was feeling mildly annoyed. He's the first person on the show that I can recall who doesn't have a warm and fuzzy personality. Mr. Smith didn't seem to be interested in the ideas of imaginative play and make-believe. He smiles out of discomfort when Fred mentions the land of make-believe. I noticed that both Mr. Rogers and Chef Brockett continue to respond and ask questions in a kind manner towards Mr. Smith, regardless of Mr. Smith's response. While Mr. Smith doesn't fully warm up, there's a moment in which he softens. This moment is an excellent example for the young TV viewers to learn that no matter how someone treats you, you have the ability to not let their behavior affect how you choose to respond. Choosing to respond with kindness and respect also gives the benefit of the doubt to someone who may be having a bad day, going through a difficult time, or is simply not feeling well. Chef Brockett then delivers the surprise cake to Colette and Grandpère. Chef places Colette's cake precariously on the edge of the Eiffel Tower. Robert Troll finds Henrietta at the castle. When he arrives, he overhears Henrietta wishing Colette's cake would fall off the Eiffel Tower. Henrietta wishes the cake were for her instead. She feels that if she can't have the cake, then no one else should have it either. Alas, it does fall. Henrietta believes that her wishing for the cake to fall caused the cake to fall. Robert Troll says thinking can't make it happen. Henrietta is very upset and cries over the accident. She doesn't think that the cake can be fixed and that she will be sent away. Lady Elaine arrives and says that it was the wind that caused the cake to fall. Evidently, Lady Elaine has been all over the land of make-believe, fixing things the wind has disrupted, and she uses her boomerang magic to fix the cake. Mr. Rogers practices decorating a gingerbread cake. He is showing us a range in cake decorating skill levels throughout this episode. As a beginner, Mr. Rogers is not as good as decorating a cake, whereas Chef might have an intermediate skill level and Mr. Smith, the artist, has an advanced or expert skill level. Getting to each level requires an increasing amount of education and practice. How do jealousy, cake decorating practice, and wishes fit together? Mr. Rogers is highlighting that young children often feel jealous of siblings and friends. Those feelings naturally lead to negative thoughts towards others and things. Many of those thoughts center around harming people, animals, and objects. Having a thought is not the same as acting on a thought. A negative thought should not be judged the same or carry the same weight as acting on a negative thought. It's perfectly normal and natural to have negative thoughts, especially when feeling jealous. Having the thought or feeling is not the problem. What matters is how we manage those thoughts and feelings. We become jealous when others have the things we want. We feel jealous when our skills are not as developed as those of others. We then take this unskilled perception and tell ourselves a story about how we are now less valuable and less lovable because we are unable to do something. Thoughts are only problems when they turn into actions of blame, destruction, violence, and dehumanization. So, how do we manage jealousy? Practice. Mr. Rogers is using the art of cake decorating and calligraphy this week to help children understand the concept of practice. If a person can come to understand that learning something new is difficult for everyone, they are less likely to feel jealous. Feelings of jealousy can actually be a positive. Jealousy often enlightens us to what we truly value. Feeling jealous? You have a choice. You can practice or you can quit. It's often jealousy that's the root of why children want to quit activities they previously loved. If a child says, "I just don't like it anymore," it's usually jealousy and they don't know how to manage it. And this is an opportunity to help a child to learn to manage jealousy. Consider for a moment how someone's life, work, and relationships will be affected if they never learn to manage jealousy and they simply give up when met with a challenge. Mr. Rogers ties in the concept that wishes don't make things come true through the Henrietta and Colette storyline. Henrietta didn't want Colette to have anything she couldn't have for herself, so she wished that Colette's cake would fall and smash to pieces. The majority of the audience for this show are in the magical thinking stage of development. A child in this age group believes that the thoughts they have will come true and manifest into reality. As an example, a child may be feeling jealous of their sibling who received a new bicycle as a birthday gift. Naturally, in a fit of jealousy, the child will wish their sibling would fall off the bike. When the sibling does fall, as they will in the process of learning to ride, the wishing child will connect their thought to the fall. They will think that they caused the fall because they wished for the fall to occur. While this may seem silly to an adult, imagine how it feels from a young child's perspective. This can be quite distressing and explains a lot of why monsters at bedtime are really scary. It can also lead to things like complicated grief. When a family member or a pet dies, in a moment of annoyance, a child wishes the person or pet would go away. If unfortunately the person or pet dies shortly thereafter, the child will think they caused the death and made the person or pet go away with their thoughts. Mr. Rogers sings a song about wishing for a lion to eat up the neighborhood. He attempts to further explain the concept that wishes can't make something come true. Here are the lyrics for that song. Wishes don't make things come true. One time I wished that a lion would come and eat up my house and my street. I was mad at the world and I wished that the beast would stomp everything with his big heavy feet and eat everything with his big sharp teeth and eat everything with his teeth. But that wish certainly didn't come true because scary, mad wishes don't make things come true. One time I wished that a dragon would come and burn up my daddy's big store. I was angry with him because I wanted to play, but my daddy just went to his store right away. I wish that the dragon would burn his store. I wish it would burn daddy's store. But that wish certainly didn't come true because scary, mad wishes don't make things come true. Everyone wishes for scary, mad things. I guess that you sometimes do too. I've wished for so many, and I can say that all kinds of wishes are things just like play. They're things that our thinking has made. So wish then and don't be afraid. I'm glad it's certainly that way, aren't you? That scary, mad wishes don't make things come true. No kinds of wishes make things come true. Mr. Rogers closes with the Tomorrow song. Sometimes, when we're jealous of someone, we don't want to give them access to something. This is the if I can't have it, then nobody can mentality. Sharing with another means we have to first acknowledge that person as a deserving and worthy person. To share, we have to recognize other people as having the same basic needs as ourselves. Sharing with another means accepting that others are special, valuable, just like you are. Generosity is possible when you know that you're valuable in your own way, but not more valuable or more deserving of love than another being. When I'm feeling jealous, I know that at the heart of my jealousy is this. I'm feeling like I'm not worthy and therefore unlovable. At our core, we all need to be loved and to be accepted to belong. No one is an exception to this need. When someone is more skilled than ourselves, we can admit it. Instead of quitting, we can choose to see this as a wake-up call or a renewal of what we value or what we find important. Then we can work harder by practicing. Accepting those we are jealous of also takes practice. The ability to see what is special or valuable in others requires practice. It takes practice to interact with people in a way that preserves their dignity. Guess what? It takes practice to be kind. Questions for myself. What is the difference between a wish and a prayer? I'm wondering out of curiosity and a desire to understand another perspective. I'm not questioning out of anger or judgment. Questions for you. Feel free to answer in the comments. How do you respond when you feel jealous? Do you think jealousy is the root cause of discriminatory laws? And most importantly, won't you be my neighbor?